waiting for you at the end of this course. I'll talk about that a little bit more. So I'm going to start sharing my screen. I'm hoping that this is actually recording. Is it? Yes. Okay. So let's start off. Okay, tell me if you can see my screen. So I'm sharing my screen today with audio. What does that mean? Well, because today we're going to be learning how to insert animated graphics into your software app, which I think so many of you would be very interested to know how to do. That's the reason why I'm turning on audio, because I think for you to hear the audio, you would need to have the audio turned on. So back to the Google Classroom before we start the lesson very quickly. I have had a look at the quiz. Of course, I'm not going to go into the quiz right now because the average of the class, about 19 people from when I checked earlier today, submitted lesson 3. Again, I just want to remind you that if all lesson assets are not completed by lesson 6, and of course, we are not going to be assigning anyone any certificate of completion or letter of good standing, any of that sort. If you're missing one lesson or you haven't posted one reflection or anything of that sort, you will be getting a checklist. Ms. Kumo, Ms. Tequila will be providing you with a checklist that we are making for you guys, where you need to check out that you have all these things intact if you want to be able to get your certificate of completion, your letter of good standing, and even possibly an internship program with us, which Ms. Kila and Mrs. Kumo, Mr. Kila will tell you more about. So yeah, that's something that I just want you to keep in mind. So lesson 4 today, we're supposed to be focusing on setting up the first screen. So I'm going to try my best to kind of cover that, because the first screen setup does connect to lesson 5, which is the data science aspect. The data science analytics is basically monitoring user behavior. So because users come into your app, they do search a couple of things. Some users search one thing more than the others. You need to understand user behavior in that sense, so you know what users are searching more, what content they're interested in more, and that can also give you an idea of how to modify what you've created. So I'm hoping that today's lesson will sort of transition into lesson 5, because we don't have much time anymore. And lesson 5 will focus on how you can store user metrics and use them for little analytics and data science using Python. And then, of course, you can go further into that some more. Unfortunately, we don't have time to do that in this course session. And lesson 6 is divided into 2 parts. So lesson 6, what is lesson 6? 1 hour, as you guys know, Mr. Kila and Ms. Kumo have sent this many times, saying that it's 2 hours. It's from 5 to 7. 1 hour will be Ms. Yadira Caro coming in to speak to you guys a bit more on soft skills and how that works in a workspace. And then the last hour would be to give you a little glimpse of how to create content, how to launch your portfolio, and just understand how you can be able to take MBOA FLIX and to be able to finish it off, which of course you need to do, publish it, and then sell it as an app online on an app store that you can do. So make money from what you're doing, right? So that's like the first steps, and then how to create content to do that. So that's what's going to happen, and that's what we're hoping to happen. Now let's go into our MBOA FLIX app. Let's get started on the lesson. So I want to do a quick run and show you something. So I'm going to show you something, okay? So this is a demo program. I'm going to run this MBOA FLIX here. And if you remember, what we did and where we stopped was we successfully got the user to sign up, right? So I'm going to sign up. This is a different, again, MBOA FLIX app. I just want to show you something. Let's go signing up for Elizabeth. And let's go for Lizzie. All right, this is just a sign up. Now pay attention to something. I'm signing up successfully. And then after the sign up, I will go over, normally when you sign up from the first time, you'd go to a login page, right? Now, the login buttons here are off. That's fine. Ignore the text boxes and they're not in the right place and all that stuff. That's okay. What I want you to pay attention to is that there's animation going on here, right? There's animation going on. So this very simple, basic animation, you can see the screen moving, things happening. Well, that's one of the things you're going to learn, how you can make your screens animated, how you can insert animation. Another thing that I want you to learn, which I'm not going to log in because this login is not authenticating anything right now. I'll just click login. Now, when I click login, there is a transition. I transition to this screen. Now, pay attention to what happens. Look, when I move over to her, right, there is an icon, like a little blazer icon, right? Because, well, let's see if I can zoom out and show you this a bit more. Because if you pay attention, this option was to learn about the Master of Togo embroidery, right? So when I go there, it makes sense that my icon should be something related to that. I'm going to click on it in a few minutes. Now, when I come over here, look what happens. I'm talking about cooking authentic ndole, for example. And then when I come here, obviously the icon will change. But for this example, we have just 2 icons to show you. How do you make this happen? Where you go, you get a different icon. As I move, I get icons. And as I come here, it changes. It's a very interactive screen. Now, when I click here, of course, it will go on to the next screen, which is this screen, for example. And then when I click the other one, which I'm going to show you right now, it will go to a different screen. So the idea is there that we need to learn how that works to create that interactiveness and that functionality. And all that would work, of course, when they're logged in. So we need to go and look at the login. Now, I gave you a challenge last time, and I said, the login is something you should try to do. I don't know if you guys have done that. So what I'll do is just run through it anyways. Whoever has done it, great. If you haven't done it, no problem. I'm running through it, and so you can follow how the login works. But I don't think anyone has done it anyways. So I'm coming back here, and I'm just clicking on this one, this Ndole one, and you notice that I go to a different screen, right? So that's the idea. The idea is where we transition into screens. Okay, so let's go back to our own app. So that's just a little demonstration. Now here is our own app. This is what we've done so far. We have only the login, well, the sign up working, sorry, not the login. I did something to mine. Do you notice that I have a login button right here? So I hope you have put that in yours. If you haven't, I think I saw a lot of you guys have a very nice interface. This is just a very basic example. So many of you have something like already forgot your password, don't have password, this and that. That's great. Just make sure that if you're dealing with Tkinter, you must have some sort of like text button or something like that where they can click on, because if you want to do label, you have to put like label, like you have to write text if you want to make it clickable. Anyways, when we click on login, nothing really happens. When we click on sign up, we can't sign up, right? Because remember, we have the authentication thing where we can't sign up. I just want to remind you again that we have done this before. So Desmond, I'm going to sign up. And I didn't make the password hidden. You remember why? Because I was trying to show you something last time in terms of authentication. So I just want to go back to the JSON file so you can see what we have. This is our JSON file. This is the last sign up I have, by the way. Okay, Paldi. I deleted all the other ones. So I have Paldi in here. That was the last sign up I've got. And then I just did like right now before your class started. And now I'm going to sign up Desmond. So when I click Desmond, sign up, okay. And I come back, I can see Desmond. So I just want to show you that the signing up is working fine without any problems. Now let's go back into what we're going to do today, logging in. So how does the login work? First of all, if you want to put a login button, I already put mine here. It should go right underneath somewhere, or a login label, whatever you want to put, whether it's a label or a button. If you want to put a label and you want a label to be clickable in Tkinter, then I would have to do a little file for you to just show you how that works. So that means you put a text, but when they click on the text, it takes them somewhere. So it's clickable. If you put a button, then of course this means this is how your button would go. And you can see that I'm going from login, it will open up this authenticate page, right? The login authenticate function is what I mean. Okay, so the last thing we did for the sign up was here. The screen will get destroyed once they sign up, and it's supposed to go into the login screen. So that's kind of what we're going to do right now. So let's get started on that. So I'll go back to the top, and I created this function called, I'm going to do it from the beginning. Let's call this function login authenticate. Or you can call it login screen if you prefer. You know, whatever you want, you can call. I'm going to zoom in so you can see what I'm doing, and I'll show you what I'm going to do to the bottom code. So I'm creating the login screen after they sign up, or if they have already a login, they don't need to sign up. They just need to click login and they come here. So the login screen, I'm going to have to change it down here because this is no longer login authenticate, right? The command is now changed. So the command now becomes login screen. Okay, so now no more errors. Now go back up again to your function, and you probably are wondering, why am I putting a function at the top? Well, that's because we're saying when they click login, we want to go somewhere. I don't have to put a function there. I could put a function inside here somewhere, like around here. You could do whatever you want. It just depends. You need to make a connection. That's only what you have to do. So I'm trying to go into a separate page. Okay, so from here, we're going to do something like this. This is important. If you don't want to have any errors, you have to do this. What is this? So we'll do screen Okay, let's do what the AI is suggesting. It's a good suggestion. We can use this one, and I'll explain it. So it's screen.canvas.winInfo top level. What this means is that you're trying to go from a Tkinter screen and open up an or whatever screen, and you're opening up another screen. So in this case, we're saying that our parent screen is our root screen. Remember, we did that before when we were transitioning screens. So it's the same thing that we're doing now. We're moving from one screen to the next. And so this is a new screen for our login. Now we're going to go by root because we started root. You can do another like screen if you want. Again, do that. It works the same way. I'm just repeating what we've done already. And then you do the title, login title. You guys already know this. You do the geometry. That's the size. We're keeping size the same, right? We already know this. And then, of course, you do the resizable thing where they don't resize the screen so it doesn't go awkward, where some part is not done properly because they're resizing it and you didn't set it to that size. And then finally, we go into the part where we start to put in our picture, whatever you want. Okay, so we're not putting a picture here. So we're not going to put a picture. We're going to put animation. Okay, animation is different. So how do we put animation? Well, if you want to put animation, what you have to do is you have to go and get the image and then you have to animate it. So that's what we'll do. Let's go back to Gemini. We need a login image. And when we get the login image, then you can decide. Now, I prefer to get something that I already have built. So what I mean is if I go back here, let's take this to the side. Remember how we did the sign up page, which I want to show you right now. So the sign up page looks like this, right? I kind of want to keep the same consistency or at least the same styling. So I really don't think I should modify anything here, although you can change the way you see things, okay? So for example, if you go back to home, this was the original home, right? Download that picture. Let's download it again. You don't have to if you have this already on your computer, by the way. I'm just doing this now. Now go to Gemini, I'll say, using the picture attached here, I want to create another type of login screen, another style. You might also want to change your style. Maybe you want the login screen to like be in the middle. So what I mean is, for example, this is the picture, right? Let's go back into, where did it go? There it is. This is on my computer. So I'm talking about this picture. Maybe I don't want to have this whole slider thing here. I just want the login to be here. So you can change the style, like I said, and I think that's what I'm going to do. I'll change the style of how my login is going to look like, and you don't have to always have it on the background. It's just, if we're looking at a website and to be professional, then usually that's how it looks like. So using the picture attached here, I'll be like, insert a classy Cameroonian themed login box, right? In the middle. Remove that, maybe let's finish this one that contains username, label, and username. Maybe let's do it together, and password so I don't repeat labels on the left side of the box. And then I would say insert spacing in front of, again, I don't want any sort of like of boxes in there. So I just want to insert spacing in front of the labels of the username and password labels, right? So that's kind of what I want to visualize. But what I'm going to say is remove, maybe not remove. You got to think how you're going to say this. Replace or insert this login box in the place of the menu options underneath the banner. You gotta also be specific on what kind of menu options, because it's gonna go do it the wrong way. So menu options, the Togo cloth, the Indoli cooking masterclass, just put like 2 things and he understands. So basically what you will do is in parentheses here, you would say Togo cloth and styling. And then you could go over to saying, what was the other one? The Indoli masterclass. Yes, cooking masterclass. And then you don't have to write the whole thing. I just want to write like 2 options and then dot, 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 dot. Basically understands that's the part. So Read what you've written one more time. So before you send it, I don't want to put any sort of button or anything because I'll do that. I'll just say maybe make it make sense, you know, insert it in such a way where it doesn't look like there's emptiness by the sides. That could also be something. So let me see. So I said insert the spacing in front of them, and I said insert this login box in the place of the menu options underneath the banner option, banner picture, looking, you could add something, looking naturally placed without allowing too much space by the sides of, or you can say on the sides, not by the sides, on the sides of the login box. And then you can say keep the footer if you want. So at this point, I'll send it and let's see what I get. Now I need to upload the picture. I haven't forgotten about that. I'll go for Flash. I don't like Flashlight. I always go Flash, and then I'll go thinking extended. And then let's go for upload files. There is a reason why I do thinking extended, because it takes a bit more time to think than when you do Flash. And sometimes with Flash, the image, the text is wrong. So send it and see. Remember, you have another option. You have Google Flow. So that's another one. Although Google Flow has kind of changed a little bit. So we'll try and see, because now it kind of looks like it's a little bit off of what you usually would have. But let's see what it does here. And then from here, I'll show you how we can do the animation. And then once we do the animation, we have our login ready. Then all we need to do is go and do the authentication, then change the screen. Once it's logged in, we go into the main screen, which is where I just showed you the previous example. And then we start to make all those options clickable and pages making sense, right? So once you click on a page, how is it supposed to look like? Do you want to show it where it's giving information? You should always read this information, by the way. Whatever they give you here, make sure you read it. Okay, you see what it's done? It's done it okay, but it hasn't followed complete instructions, which I could fix myself, to be honest. So I wouldn't worry that much. But the instructions were to not put any box in front. So you can still send it and say, remove the text boxes in front of the username and password, and remove the sign up box that is underneath, and whatever you want to do. If this was Turtle, if you were doing Turtle, this would be okay, because Turtle, you can make things clickable, right? So you can actually make these things work, but you got to take out the stuff in the box. But since it's Tkinter, we don't really need to have boxes, and we don't need to have buttons. We can do that ourselves. So real quick, I'm just going to make a quick fix, and then I'll show you some alternatives on Google Flow. Then we'll go into the animation. So I'll be like, remove the text boxes in front of the username and password text labels, right? And then I'll be right, and remove the sign up button. Oh. And the forgot password, you know, create account labels, text labels, and leave all blank. Or you can just say keep these blank, you know, nothing in there. And then you could just make sure by doing this, just say don't change anything else, because sometimes it will change something again. So do not change anything else. Okay, and then you send it and see what it does. And then, of course, from there, you can proceed. Now, while this is working, to save the time, I'm just going to go copy this. Go to our usual spot, Google Flow, remember. And I don't know if you know, but Google has released Google Omni. So there's something called Google Omni, and that's even a more advanced image generation tool. And what it does is that it can like take audio, take picture, pretty much take any kind of input, even video, and it can do whatever you want, whether you want something changed in a video that you already have. There's Google Omni, but I believe that is for Google Gemini or people who are pro users, but you can check it out. It's a very good tool and it's very useful. Okay, so from here, I'll just come over here, and I said, I'll do 2 variations. Let's do 2. And then I'll upload the picture again. So the one that I want to make this change to. And just be very specific again here that you're saying that insert spacing. So on the left side, insert front labels and all that stuff. Just send it, because again, if it doesn't get the instruction properly, it wouldn't understand what to do. So I think that's it. I think I wouldn't need to send anything. Let's see what Google Flow will do. Now, while this is working, let's go back over and see. Oh, that's perfect. See what it did? Nice. Good. I think it's okay. Although I don't like the spaces by the side, but we're going to move on from here. You can make more changes to whatever you need. I just don't like the empty spaces. But anyways, we'll download this. We can work with this. Let's see what Google Flow also does. Google Flow is doing some magic. And then we actually need Google Flow for our video. Ooh, Google Flow is not bad. I like the Cameroonian style kind of thingy, although I don't know why it's doing this by one side. That's the only odd thing I don't like, but it did an option. I think this one would be a very pleasable option. It's pretty sleek, pretty nice. So yeah, like I said, you can choose anything you want. So let's say, because the reason I would say this is okay for me is because we can put a box over this, right? We know that. We can put boxes and you can style this and just follow the same thing. So that's what I'm saying. Okay, let's take 2 examples. Why don't we take 2 examples today? So you guys notice that I'm doing 2 things. I am downloading the first example, which is this one. And this is the one I got, like the one that's pretty much plain. And then I'm also getting this one. Now, the thing is, how do we make this animated? I really advise you to do 2 things. I don't know if you guys know, but if you go to your Gmail, and in your Gmail account, you have something called vids. I think everybody has vids because I'm not in any pro anything like that here. So any Gmail account has vids, right? We have vids. Now, when you go into vids, it's one option where you can create videos, like content. So the reason I say go into vids, and you're gonna see the reason, is because we need to make animation happen. So when you go into vids, go landscape, go VEO 3.1. If you guys wanna do portraits, that's something later when you're doing content creation. For now, we're gonna go landscape. Oh, I think I've reached my monthly limit for this. That's fine, I have vids somewhere else. Let me go back into another account. So that's why I told you it's a free account. So you gotta be careful how you're using it. Okay, I have a vids here. This is another account that I can use. And you notice that I have vids everywhere. Vids is everywhere for everybody. So I'm going to go to this one. And this one, I don't have any limitation. So I'm going to transfer my vids to animate an image. And you're going to see what I'll do. So now let's get back to our Google Flow. We're still going to use Google Flow. Now, you got to think, how do you want your animation to happen? Do you want it such that the background will be animated? Do you want what? Do you want these things to be popping up, the about us, the fashion? You have to give it instructions. So what I'll do is I'll come back to go out of this Google Flow, right? Go out. That's what you do first. And then pay attention to the size of your picture. Also, I forgot to mention to you that I forgot to tell Gemini to pay attention to my picture size. So let's see what the picture size is. Okay, the picture size is good. It's 1,377 by 768, which is not bad. This one is perfect, the second one. Okay, so we're safe on picture size. Now let's go into animation. We'll come into new project, and then you're gonna have to switch if you want this to be animated, because you can control the type of animation you have that nobody on the planet has. Only you has that animation. And you go into frames and you go into your 16:9. Make sure you don't do ×2 because you're gonna use up your credits. I hope you know that you have certain amount of credits that is here, right? Everybody has 50 credits every day. So the credits are for the videos. Now, when you come to the video, upload your picture, what you want to animate. So I'm going to pick the second one, the one that was good, right? This one. And I'm uploading it right now. And then what you'll do is this. You'll say transform the picture attached here into a viral, captivating, animated video. And you can give more instructions, okay? Intelligently, or you can say creatively, animating the menu options at the top. And make sure you specify what are those. About us, give those options. Like I said, fashion, put dots. If you want, you can keep writing all of them. I just don't want to take time, so I'm just going to put dots. Okay, so you notice my first instruction, right? I'm giving it to Anna. You can specify how you want animation. Change the angle, do this, do that. That's why we have Google Omni as well, those kind of features. Another thing I want to do is I want to animate the banners itself too. So I'll say animating the menu options at the top and the banner picture in a very Cameroonian style, classic style. You know, that's it. Then, very important, very important. Do not animate the user login box, because you know what's going to happen? You saw what happened with the other one I showed you, right? If you animate it, it starts popping up, and if you put any text box, the box is just going to come out of position. It's not going to lock because you're not locking anything. So what you'll do is give it a strict instruction and say, do not animate the login text box or the login box, okay? Give it more instructions. Make sure, okay, be specific, to keep the text labels the same as they are in the picture and the login box, okay? Without, you continue, without zooming in or out, you know, disappearing, all that kind of thing. So whatever you think can happen should say that. Keep everything, keep all text in place. Keep all text in place in the video, okay? So that way it doesn't like add some rubbish text and things that don't make sense, because you don't want to have that. You don't want to have any rubbish text at all. So once that's done, you're done. What you do is you upload your picture. It's obviously this one, so put it there. You can have an ending frame. So ending frame means your animation will start and end with something else. That I don't think we need that for this one, so I'm just going to send it. Now, once I send that, I wanted to do this also in, I think I could get my prompt back. Let me see. Oh yeah, it's going to do this, by the way. If this happens to you, don't think it's an error message. You just have to be patient because there's so many people using Google Flow. So it's queuing. Queuing means that it's working. You just got to give it some time. Now, what I'll do is I'll copy this thing. Okay, I want you to see the difference. Copy this prompt. Go back to my vids. Do you remember vids? Go back vids. Paste it. Don't do create from scratch. Do animate and then upload your picture, the same picture that you want to animate, and then just select it, open, and send it. So now you're going to see two different type of video animations, and then you can choose which one you like. Okay, so I think it's almost coming to work. Now, one thing I noticed on Flow is that the animation sometimes, for whatever reason, even when you give it instructions, it sort of changes the text or something happens. Recently, this has been happening. I don't know if they changed something on Flow or whatnot, but let's see. So far, it's looking okay. Let's see how the animation worked out. Let's see what it did, and then we can decide. All right, it's coming on.
Feel the rhythm of the drums. Explore the heart of our culture. Welcome to Cameroon.
Okay, that was promising. I mean, that was good
Feel
at the
the
end.
rhythm of the drums.
I just want you to keep in mind, guys, that the animation volume audio doesn't work in Tkinter. Okay, keep that in mind. The animation is going to happen, okay, but the audio is not going to play. Now, if you're a person who's interested, because I think you guys will be excited that you can do so many things. Many things are going into your head that if you could use audio and stuff like that, you could create a very good app or whatnot. Yes, you can do that if you're doing JavaScript, HTML, and CSS. That's another course again. So that's a very interesting language to do, and you can actually have audio. But here, audio doesn't work except the animation.
Explore the...
So what we'll do is, I noticed that, let me just download this first. I'm going to download, and then I'll go back to the vids. So the download is very simple. Just click download, and it downloads for you. Very easy peasy, no problem. Now, one thing you have to pay attention to is the size of this, obviously the video. Pay attention to that, and I'll show you one thing. Let me just open this here. I noticed something about the text is what I'm trying to open, because you have to be very accurate in this. So let me see.
Feel the rhythm of the drums. Explore...
Okay, you see what I told you guys about what happens with Flow? Do you see this text here? This is pretty much rubbish, right? So let's play it without audio, because this is what will happen in Tkinter. So let's play it like this. This is how the animation will be like. Even though the text isn't very visibly seen, but it's still there coming out wrong. So I don't want that to happen. So let's check vids. Look at the vids example. So vids is this one. Let's see. I definitely like vids better because everything looks so clean. So let me download it so you can see the difference. And also the animation is way better here. So again, you can give it more specification. Yes, Kumo likes it too. I like vids, to be honest, and you guys will see why. So let me open it up. There it is. And then you see how it looks, okay? Compare the difference. So let's open that. Obviously, the audio is not going to play again. Keep that in mind. So this is vids. You see? It looks so good. It disappears at the end, but it's fine. The user would have to answer by then, obviously. They would type in their username, type in the password. You can also shorten it if you want. You can also stop it from where it disappears. So this is very good. Okay, now let's move on. I'm going to pick that one. I like this one, the second one. So I'll delete the one I don't like. And you guys can play around with this and see the one you like the most, like I told you already. So I'll get rid of this one. Let's go to the second stage so we can put this in code. Where are we going to go to make this animated? Now we go over to Canva. This is very important. You guys know Canva. Canva is a free design tool, right? You sign up with Gmail, you can get a free access to it. So you can use Canva or you can use anything else, but I prefer using Canva particularly. Now, when you come into Canva, you go into custom size. The size that we're going for is this size, but keep in mind that when you try to convert video to GIF, that's what we're going to do. Video into GIF, that means it becomes animated, no longer a video. If we choose 1,376 by 768, I don't know what happened to Canva. I think Canva is doing, let me try one more time, and if it doesn't work, I'll just do an alternative. Let's see. Okay, Canva is doing something right now. You'll have to design later on. So we'll go back. It's fine. We can go back into converted this into a GIF. So I'm going to go here. Just go to anything online. Convert MP4 into GIF. This is what you need. But Canva is a really good option. And then hit enter. Come anywhere you see. Just make sure you can also say insert resolution size, because I think this is very important. Otherwise, you're going to get something either too small or not in the right size. So I'll just come over here. I'm on Cloud Convert. And this is one that I use sometimes, but let's see if it maintains the size. So I've picked this one, right? This is the video we picked, the second one. So you notice that I didn't cut the video out. You can do that, and I'll show you on Vids or any editing software you have so that it doesn't disappear at the end if you want to keep it consistent. But it's basically converting right now. So let's do a conversion. You have to do this if you want to get it into an animation. So convert it into a GIF. And once it's done, you go back to your code. Let's go back to the coding again one more time. Now on the code, remember where we stopped. We were here. This is what we started doing. Now the animation, before you put any animation function, you have to first put your username and password boxes. And by the way, I'm going to go back to what I was doing. I just left that to convert. So you've got to put the user box or whatever you want to call it. Okay, guys, I just left that to work while we're here. TK entry, remember how this works. You're going to put this on screen number 3. You know why, right? Because that's the screen we're on right now. So screen 3. And then we're going to, you can set your background color, whatever you want. We've done this last time, so I'm not going to go through it. I think we all know how to set colors and stuff. So if you don't know, please ask questions, and I can go through it again if you don't remember. But I'm placing my text box right now. I'm placing my username box. I just want to get this ready, and then I'll go and do my password. Then I'll go back, and I'll check if my video is converted. Actually, let's see if it's converted before we continue. So it has converted. It says finished. So what do? Download the animation. So that's it. Now, my only fear is the size. That's the only thing I'm afraid about, which is why I particularly like to use, I like using, what do you call the thing I was on? Canvas. But let's see what size this is. So the size, okay. This is not bad, actually. It's not bad. It's a big size. It's 1,920 by 1,080. Yeah, so this can work because we can resize it. And I'm going to show you. Actually, I'll keep it the way it is. If it's too big, and look at how it looks like, by the way. I want you guys to see it. You see it now, right? It's an animation. It's no longer a video. It's now a GIF. So it's good the way it is. But if you go back, let's keep it that way. I'll leave it the way it is, and I'll show you something. Let me drag and drop it in here. So come back here, drag and drop. You guys know this process. Just be careful where you're dragging and dropping. Make sure you see it, okay? Because what I'm trying to say is don't drag and drop it in a folder. So click, drag, drop it on the main. That's it. And now you see it over here. This one, it's uploading. When it finishes the circle, then you can change it to maybe something like login screen or something. Give it another name. So let me see, it's still uploading. Okay, while it's uploading, let's leave it to do its work. It's still uploading. Let's come back here and finish what we started. So the positioning, I'll go for same positioning that I did with the other one, 670. The positioning of my username text box for my login, that's going to be animated, right? Remember? The Y, however, I'm going to go very, very down. So I'm going to go 585. The reason you guys will see, obviously, is if you look at this picture, look at the picture, look at where my username is, like way down here. And of course, the password. So I'm kind of figuring out where my Y is going to be. So put your Y in X-axis. Then when you're done with that, put your width and height. And I think I'll go with the width maybe that I had. What was the width that we did? 192 by 35. I think that's a good width. Let's keep it that way. Same thing like before. Now, to make it faster, copy what you have here, paste it down here. That's going to be for your password, right? Be careful and don't make sure it's spaced in. Remember, indentation. Now, your password box. And then, of course, password, just keep in mind that you want to hide the password, right? You don't want it to be showing. So however you want to hide it. I did say you can try all emojis and stuff and other type of symbols. So password box, and then the password, it will have to be further down from this. So let's try something like 625, and I'll keep everything else the same. Okay, that's good. Now what's left? What do we need? We need a button, right? So we need a login button. So login. Okay, again, login button. To save the time, I'm just going to go and copy what I have here and paste it. So the login button will be the one that actually logs in. Okay, if you're wondering why am I having two login buttons, that's because that's a login. I decided to put a login button where the sign up button was. But if you put like a text, like I told you, if you want to make it a clickable one, I'm going to give you the code on how to make that happen. But if you put a button in a very nice way where you have sign up and login, then yeah, you can have two login buttons. That's okay. I'll just call this one login 2, change the screen to 3. What else do we need to change? The command, of course. The command is going to be different because the command now, we're going to have to use something called lambda. Okay, so pay attention. This is a different keyword. Lambda is because I want to do two things. Well, I want to command it for something. I want to open a new screen, but my screen is going to be a turtle screen. Why? Because I'm going to make things clickable. Back to like the main menu where they can select options. So I'm going to call this screen display menu. You can call it whatever. So Lambda will help my compiler, what's going to run this program, understand that I'm transitioning from a Tkinter screen back into, back into a turtle screen. However, there's also something to consider. I don't want to go directly to a screen. I have to authenticate, right? So let's even do this. Let's say authenticate. We have to do this first. Authenticate login. So this is really important. What does that mean? Well, it means that I'm trying to, and I'm going to take out lambda for now. Okay, let's take out lambda. I'm not going to use lambda for now, just this one, and remove the parentheses. Now you'll see what I'll do. Create a function here called authenticate login. For now, I'm going to global again. You can use the same variables if you want, okay? So if you want, you can use variable same, or you can change them. Whatever you want is possible. So let's say I create two new variables, username and password, right? And there's orange line on them because I am globaling them, but I don't have them created at the top. Remember when we had those ones that were created at the top? Well, you got to go and if you want to reuse them, just make sure you clear them before you come into the login. It's really important. Or to save yourself the stress, you can just create a new one as well. But you have to think about, as a programmer, you don't want to be a repetition sort of person. You repeat the same thing multiple times. So I created these variables. Username 1, password 1, right? So now I have these variables created and I'm globaling them. I have not used them yet. So this will now change the name to authenticate login. So let me see, did I spell this wrong? I did. I missed that is it. So now basically when they click the login, it will come to this function. And what will it do? It will check and see if their username and password is correct first before they can get logged in, because that's the whole idea. Then when they are successful, then we will use Lambda so we can transition into a new screen. But we're going to come into the whole animation thing in a few minutes. So right now, this is what we have. Let's just do a little print for this. So print username, let's say that it works. Print password 1. Okay, so we've got a little error. Let me see what's going on. Oh, my bad. I don't know what I was doing, guys. I forgot to put the get, so be careful with that. That's why it was giving errors. And I forgot to do that here too. So remember, that was the variable that we created there. So you have to make sure that they actually match names. That's why it's giving me errors. You can call it whatever you want. So for now, this function is set for authentication. We're going to come back to this. Let's go back into the actual thing, which is the insertion of animation. So animation insertion. Okay, how do we do that? Now, we're going to test all of this when we're done, okay, with the animation especially, so we can see if it works and if it's not too big. And if it is, how can we solve the problem? So right now, we have this, everything all good. We've set the place. Okay, maybe the placing is wrong. I need to do this more down. So maybe I'll go for like 675. I'll just put anything for now. And then I'll probably go for a longer button, but we can adjust that later on. So I'll call my function display, or let's call it load and play. You can call it whatever you want, by the way. It doesn't have to be called load and play. Now, inside here, you have to come down. What do you want to play? Like, what is the animation? The animation is going to be this one, right? This is the one that we just drag and dropped. By the way, I think it's finished, so let me show you how it looks like. It's this one right here. There it is. It's a little, you're going to see like a little bit weird looking, and you're going to be worried, is it going to be looking like this with some boxes and stuff? No, it's going to look pretty clear. It's just because it's animated. So what's going to happen is I'm going to remove this, rename it to login or something, call it a name so it makes sense. And login. Just make sure that this name is not, oh, I already have a file called login. Is that what they said? I think they said something like that. Let me go back and make this something else, guys. So maybe I'll do, what should I call this one? User login, I guess. Yeah, I got a notification saying that I had something like that, but I don't think so. Anyways, I've gotten the name as user login. That's the name of my picture right here. So don't be confused, the same photo that I just loaded. So it's now here and it's good, right? So what I'll do is I'll go back to my code and I'll change the name of the picture from here. So the first thing we'll do is create something called image, anything you want to call it. And we'll say image.open, but it's not going to open for me a login. My name of my picture is called user_login. So just be careful with that name and make sure it's a .gif, this name. So that's the first step. Now, the things are going to go a little bit more codey now. Frames, you're going to do frames equal. And if you're wondering, can I put animation with a turtle screen? Yes, but you're going to have to do the work that the computer will do yourself, which means you're going to have to take the picture and split it out. I'll talk about it a little bit later. But for now, this is going to do the work for us. So tk.photoimage, this is what you have to do. And you have to make sure you're very careful when you're doing this. So the name of our picture is called, well, we call it frames. I think we can call it frame. Let's call it frame. The name of the picture that we're going to like have animated, we're going to be naming it frame, and then copy. We're copying that frame. We have to convert each frame to an RGB. This is very important. Very, very important. Now, if you're getting an error for this, don't worry. It's because we're going to put that later on as we code towards the end. That's why it's giving you an error, because it doesn't recognize where you're getting frame from. But what you have to understand is, what does this line do? Well, what it does is that it takes this username, user login picture that you have, this animation that you have, and it's going to split it into frames, just like a stop motion. So that's how it makes animation work. And that's why I said, if you're doing this in Turtle, you will have to do that work. So you will be the one taking this picture and going and splitting it into frames, and then putting the code to run all those frames like a stop motion. And that's how animation works. But if you're using Tkinter, you don't have to do that. It's going to do the work for you. So that's what's happening here. So let's continue so we can fix out this image. So we'll do the master screen. Actually, I think what we'll have to do, guys, I'll change this. We need to resize the picture. Otherwise, if you don't resize it, it's going to be too big. So we're going to do resize. This is really important. What size do we want to resize it to? Remember, we have the size that we always do, 1376 by 768, right? That's the normal size. And then afterwards, come down here and be very careful. You notice there's so much line of code on one line. So the master will be the root. Well, in our case, it's not the root, it's screen 3. Screen 3 means the screen that you're putting the animation on. So it's called screen 3. And then finally, you're going to say for, come out of here, for frame, and image sequence. If you're getting all these errors, image sequence error dot iterator, that's because you have to go and you have to import it. So this whole line, what it does is that it will split the image into frames and it will go through all the frames, which is why we have a for loop, right? I think you know what a for loop is. Something that goes through things, right? Goes through all the frames that makes up the animation, and it will run them and play them all together. So if you want to get rid of this image sequence error that you have, you've got to go back up and you have to import it. I believe we forgot to import it somewhere. Yeah, there it is. That's the import statement. The AI just made that easy for me on Replit. So this is the statement that you have to insert for GIFs on Tkinter. Don't forget, this works with Tkinter library. So you've got to insert it from what we call the pillow package, which is called pill. Okay, and it has many things, but we just need the image sequence, the one that goes through the images in sequence as frames. Once you've done that, you realize that you don't have any errors anymore, and even the frame has all gone away. So now we proceed to the next thing. What's the next thing? Well, the next thing is to set up our screen. Well, we have screen 3, right, dot frames, because now we're trying to store the frames in screen 3 object. And then we're gonna, let me see what this error is. Oh, resolving as frames. Give me one moment. We have an error there as a frames error. Attribute, okay, I think I might need to insert that as well. I might need to correct that at the end. So I'll leave that for now. We need to correct that error in terms of frames. It doesn't understand that attribute, so we're gonna make a correction to it. Oh, and one more thing, just make sure your image is in this parentheses, by the way. So I'll continue on with the animate function. I'll fix the frames, the screen thing. Animate 3. So we start the animate as we need to have like a frame index. So like where do you start your animation from? Because I told you you have to split it into frames, you have to start it from the very beginning because the images are all split out. And I'll show you an example of what we've done like with students before so you understand how that works. Anyways, I'm starting to create this variable called frame index. You can call it whatever. And I'm setting it at 0 because the computer always starts to count anything from the start at 0. So that means the image has a lot of frames, but we will start at the beginning, 0, going all the way to however many frames it has. All animations are different. Okay, so that's what we're doing here. Now I'm showing you an example. Let me just show you something for better understanding. Let me show you something with Turtle real quick of what we've done before in some projects so you understand a bit more. Okay, so for example, you guys can see, let me see if there's an animation that I can quickly show you here. I think I could show you. Okay, look at this. Do you see all these pictures? You see them? How many frames are in here? There's a total of 176. So it starts at 0, right? 0, where's the 0? Let's see, 0, 1. Let me arrange this for you in a ascending sort of order so we understand what's happening. There it is. It starts at the first frame. This, look at that. This is an animation going all the way. Look at what I'm doing. See? You see it? I'm moving manually with just my mouse. And it's like stop motion. So that's what happens on Tkinter, but the computer does it for you. So at the end of the day, you're trying to have a complete animation like this. See that? Like that. That's what you're trying to do. So that's exactly what we're trying to, accomplish here. That's why we're having this. So we're continuing. I hope you understand. So when we say frames, when I say starting at 0, what do I mean? I mean, it's going to go at the very beginning of the image frame and run through all these frames all the way to the very end, which is 192. And that's what causes the animation to happen. So that's what the computer does on the back end. So now let's go back to try. Okay, if you're wondering why do we have a try block, well, that's because the try block is the one that allows us to actually run things. So we have a try block, screen 3. I need to fix the screen 3, guys. Give me one moment. Let me see something real quick on the screen 3. I need to fix that. Oh, I think I know why. If we change that to a root, let me see if I keep it or I keep it as screen, or I can just run through the end. Okay, I think I'll have to, give me one moment. I'll do something real quick. I'm trying to just figure this part out here. Let me see. So we've got like the frames, and then we've got at the end, I think I'll do screen 3. Okay, I think I'll fix it late. I'll fix it towards the ending. Let's just continue from the code itself. So it's an error where it does not recognize the top level attribute, has no attribute label. So we're gonna have to just make some slight corrections to it. And I remember why this is happening is because at the beginning here, I was supposed to create an attribute called the label, which I did not create. So that's what we have to do in fix. So insert something. We call it an attribute, something where your pictures are going to go on, like a holder where your animation is going to go. So I forgot to tell you that we have to insert a label here. So I'm going to say insert a label attribute, so you remember, and that would fix that error that we're having right there, down there. So that's what we need, okay? We need to insert this. See that? So I'm going to go, actually, let's do it now so you can see the difference. I'll go back to the beginning. And to fix this part here, we're going to create a label like this, just a label. And then we're going to say label equals tk.label this. You see what I just did, right? So label is equal to tk.label screen 3, right? And you can put a background color for your label. This is important because it fixed that error that we had at the bottom. I'm going to go back to that error. So if you want, you can put whatever color. It doesn't really show. It's just going to be like a support for where your animation is going to go on. So then you place your label, you can pack it. You don't necessarily have to place it anywhere or give it any specific placing. The purpose of the label is just to be there as a support for your image, for your animation. So once that is done, that will help understand where we're getting this label from, and we'll be able to fix this error that we're having on this side. So we're going to continue on from where we stopped. So just remember that I created this, and I'm now towards this part. So let's finish it off. Okay, so the next part I'll go and I'll continue is this part here. And what this is doing, I just added this automatically, is that it's going to make the animation happen every 1 second. This is in milliseconds because it has to make it look natural, like unless you want to reduce this yourself. And if you reduce this to 50, imagine it's milliseconds. 100 milliseconds is 1 second. That's what it says there. Okay, so milliseconds, that's like 1 second. When we say 100, so 1 second, that's what it is. So what I've done is I'm just basically saying that I want this to make my animation happen for every 5.5 milliseconds. So that means it's going to go fast or slow or natural. So it's better you put something in there. So I've put 50, that is 0.5 seconds. And then I've said animate, I wanted to animate. And do you know what this is doing? It's increasing my frame index because I started at 0. And what's going to happen is, like I showed you, it's going to run through all the frames. So 0, +1, 2, +1, 3, 4, 5, 6, and runs through everything all the way to the very end, which is the 192. It depends on the type of animation. If there's so much animation, there's going to be more frames. Okay, so now we go on to the next thing. After we've done the try, we go on. I'll fix the error, by the way. Let's just go towards the end. We do accept index error. So we can do, well, there are many kinds of error we can have. We can have index error. We can have also something called a TCL error. So that's also something that we could have. And if it's like when we say TCL error, what does that mean, by the way? So you can explain this as a TCL is if the window is closed and the image is not showing. So if the window that is the one supposed to show your animation is closed for whatever reason and it's not showing, then this error called a TCL is going to be raised. That means it's going to be displayed. And that's what we did by pass, which means ignore the error unless the window is closed. So the last thing we'll do is to make this animation, call this animation right here. So that's going to be animate, start it off. And then finally, we have to call the root. Like in our case, we didn't call ours root. So what we'll do is when you come back here, you just have to call your function, which I believe, let me see, in our case, oh, I also think I need to make a slight change. We can't do it this way because we're going to have to call it from our animation screen, which is screen 3. So what I'll do is I'll quickly pause and do, I think I'll do screen 3 because I need to do it this way so that it actually runs the whole animation on the screen. Otherwise, it's not going to do that. So after we call this load play, which is their animation, that's going to actually work. So we'll close the parentheses around here like this. But we still have to fix this error. So this is pretty much all that you need to do to insert animation. That's it. And I'm going to run through the code really, gently so I can explain what happened and what we did. So this is kind of the end. We just have to, I'll fix this error that we're having, which is an unresolved attribute to frames, which is why it doesn't recognize where we're getting it from. And also just really explain what this is doing in the end. So just to go in the beginning, remember when we started creating the login, because this is all of the login, we haven't done the authentication, we're going to do that. You have this main part, which basically puts the username and password on the animated screen that you have, right? And I put a label here, but the label is actually going to have a function. It's supposed to connect to this one right here because you need a label so that you can have your animation to go on it. So that's the thing that we need to go back and I need to check carefully, which is why we're having a little error on this side because it doesn't recognize where you're getting the screen 3 from in terms of frames. But in general, this is the code that you need to put animation, except you have to fix the error. And then one more thing that we're going to do before we fix the error is that the authentication part is also important. Actually, let me just put that code in there real quick because I think we have like 2 minutes and I really want you to have the authentication login code. So I think if we don't have it today, that's fine. Give me one moment. I feel like we can do it in the next class too, because we'll fix this error and then we'll get the authentication to be in there, which is like a few blocks of code. And then we can just check everything, make sure everything works. So let me just check one thing real quick so I know which one we're gonna open up. Okay, so this one's the authentication part. Insert animation, give me a minute. Yeah, okay, so the only thing we need to do here in the authentication, let's get back to it, is here. Before we even print anything, I don't know if you remember, but I'm going back now. I've left the animation, by the way, this is the animation. Now I'm going back to the function that authenticates, which means it determines if the person is logging in properly or not. So what I'm trying to do is this, I really forgot to say that when you come here, remember what we did last time, you have to get the username that is being entered by the user, right? Remember that? So if we can get all the codes in here, that will be great. So the username box dot get text, you remember? So get is meaning that it's going to store the username, and then the one for password, pretty much the same. So get password 1. Same thing like we did before. So this is really important. Now, you don't want to print before you get, right? So let's take out the print for now, and then we'll put it after we get the username and password that they've actually entered. Because when they enter, then they click login, it's going to get the username, it's going to get the password. Then we're going to check if it exists. That's what's going to happen. All right, so unfortunately, guys, I think we're going to stop here for today. I'm just going to paste this in here, okay? Now, one thing I'll do before next class is I'll write a small note of how you fix this error. And when you fix this error, you can test your work, okay? You can test what you've done. How? Okay, so when I explain, I'll put like a side note in your Google Classroom because of the timing, and I'll just tell you what you have to do here because we have to connect it back into this one, and because of the timing, it's over. We have like a few more codes to do for this one. Authenticating login is like a few codes. That's easy to do. However, for you to see your animation working, this error would be fixed, and that's what I'll explain how to do. So just check your lesson 4 classroom. And then when you come to test it, how would you test it? It will work because you have a login button, right? For those who have a login button. If you have a login label, like some of you were putting, don't remember password, don't have an account, whatever. If it's a label, if it's something you haven't generated online, like from Gemini, if it's something you're writing with Tkinter, it's easy to make it clickable. But if it's something you've generated on Gemini and you want to make it such that they can click on it, don't have an account, and it goes and opens up the login, which is what we've just been doing throughout the whole day today, then unfortunately, you would have to put a label on Tkinter over what you've done on Gemini. Yes, I know it's a little bit confusing, but I think I have to show you that next time also. So that's why I'm saying that if you put a button, it's easier because the button is login. They click, they come here. This is what we did today, like the whole login with animation, right? From here to here. This will happen if they click the login button that's inside of the sign up page, right here at the bottom. But if you have a label instead, then I have to give you an alternative solution. So because you've put a label from Gemini, it's already in the picture, it's not from Tkinter, then there has to be a smart way of how to be able to make that work. When you click, it goes to the login screen. But for now, I think we're going to stop here for today. So I'll come back in case if you have any questions. Like I said, I'll show you how to fix this error, so don't worry. When you fix it, you can test it. I might do a little video. I think I'll do a video just to finish the class at the end so you can see how it's fixed and how it works, and then you can test it. So let me come back to the classroom. Okay, so there were a lot of things today, but do you have questions regarding, the animation? Anything regarding that or regarding login authentication? Is there any questions on that? I'm going to make a follow-up video, so just check lesson 4. That will be ready for you on Tuesday, Wednesday, where I will show you how to fix the error and how to just make it work. I think I'm also going to show you how to authenticate there, so we go faster. So by the time we come next class, what's left for us is just the data science part, and I think that's pretty much where we wrap up. So I think that's what I'll do, just to complete what we started today. Does that make sense? Yeah? Okay. Any questions so far? Remember what I said about assignments, right? I said that you have to make sure that your assignments are all done. We are looking for the best students, but for you to be a best student, you have to have your assignments done so that we can determine if we keep you for an intern. You can be an intern with us at Nazli Tech School. We do have a lot of software flagship apps that we develop and we launch. So you might be part of that project, and then you put your skills into practice. At the same time, you get paid for what you're doing. So if you want to be amongst those kind of people, then you really need to show your sort of dedication and determination and willing to learn and willing to work hard from these classes. And the things you have to do is just the assessment and make sure your MBOA FLIX is working up until where we stop. So just keep that in mind as well. Portfolios, are you wondering how you can do a portfolio? Because I think some of you are actually wondering, how do you make a portfolio? So we'll leave that for lesson 6. I'll show you how that works, because I think some of you are wondering, how can you look at, apart from GitHub, how do you create your own portfolio? I'll explain that to you on lesson 6. But I think for now, Ms. Kumo, do you have anything you want to tell them? I don't want to keep them here, so I will make a follow-up video, like I said, that would be with this lesson to help them test the work and make sure everything works. Do you want to say anything, Ms. Kumo?
Hello, everyone. No, I don't have anything to say. We have been sending the informations in the group, so you guys should follow what we are sending in the group. So make sure that you do anything.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Kumo. So like you heard, just follow what we're doing. Look at the video, make sure yours is working, just like I'll show in the video. And I look forward to seeing you guys on lesson 5 for the data science part and see how we can do user analytics and create the other page. Okay, and also, if you're wondering, are you wondering about the, what do you call it, the cursor? Do you remember what I showed you at the beginning? How to make the cursor interactive when you go, so that will be on lesson 5 also. That will be part of lesson 5. All right.
Okay, also, do not forget to post your growth and everything on your LinkedIn to show people out there what you're doing.
Yeah.
So, and don't forget to tag Nazli Tech School and Tech Fisher.
Thank you, Mrs. Kumo, and have a great evening, everybody, and check out your video and test your work. If you have any questions, ask on WhatsApp. Take care, everybody. Good night. See you. Bye-bye.